chosen one. What you sensed long ago is now unfolding before everyone's eyes. The patterns you recognized when no one else would look, the warnings you offered when they fell on deaf ears, the truth you carried in silence while others celebrated their illusions, all of it is now becoming visible. But this is not your moment to say, "I told you so." This is your moment to step into your true role, not as the victor standing over ruins, but as the one holding the lantern in the darkness. Stay awake to what is about to be revealed. There is a strange hollowness that comes with being proven right. You expected relief, perhaps even a sense of triumph, but what arrived instead feels more like exhaustion, wearing the mask of vindication. You watch as the very things you warned about begin to manifest in your community, your workplace, your family, the betrayals surfacing, the poor decisions bearing their inevitable fruit, the cracks you pointed out now splitting wide open for everyone to see. And yet, there is no celebration inside you. You see a friend struggling financially because of a decision you once cautioned them against, and you feel no satisfaction, only a deep weariness that comes from having seen too much too early for too long. This is the paradox of the one who perceives before others vindication arrives, but it does not feel like victory. It feels like grief wearing a different mask. The community around you is shaken now, scrambling to make sense of what is happening, while you stand quietly in the corner, unsurprised, but somehow still wounded by it all. The complexity of what you feel right now deserves to be named. You do not feel victorious because you never wanted to be right. You wanted to be heard before it was too late. There is a difference between wanting vindication and wanting prevention, and you always wanted the latter. You spoke up, not because you enjoyed being contrary, but because you genuinely hoped they would listen and avoid the pain that is now their reality. But they did not listen, and in the space between your warning and their consequence, you walked alone. You carried the weight of knowing while they carried the lightness of denial. That isolation marked you. It changed something in the architecture of your trust, your willingness to speak, your relationship with hope itself. And now, even as reality confirms what you always knew, a part of you grieves for them, yes, but also for the version of yourself who once believed that truth spoken clearly would be truth received gratefully. You may also notice something uncomfortable, a small, shadowed part of you that wanted them to experience consequences, that wanted reality to vindicate your perception. Do not shame yourself for this. It is human. What matters is what you do with that impulse now that it has surfaced. Here is the reframe that changes everything. What is unfolding around you is not your reward. It is your signal. The collapse of their illusions is not the destination of your journey. It is the doorway to the next phase of it. You have spent years in the wilderness of being misunderstood, dismissed, labeled as too sensitive or too negative. That season served a purpose. It built your discernment, your resilience, your capacity to stand alone, when standing alone was the only honest option. But that season is shifting now. The community that once rejected your warnings is entering a state of vulnerability. They are confused, shaken, looking around for something solid to hold on to. This is not the moment for judgment. This is not the moment to remind them of every instance they dismissed you. This is the moment to ask yourself a deeper question. What will you do with this clarity? The signal is not about their fall. It is about your rise. Not a rise built on their failure, but a rise built on your readiness. You have been prepared for something, and that something is beginning to reveal itself. What follows in this message is a journey from signal to positioning, from recognition to responsibility, from being the one who saw to becoming the one who guides. This is not about winning against those who doubted you. It is about stepping into a form of power that does not require their defeat to be valid. You have already proven you can perceive what others miss. Now you will learn how to wield that perception without losing your compassion, how to hold boundaries without building walls, how to lead without needing applause. The path ahead is not about revenge, it is about becoming the fullest version of what your gift has always pointed toward. You were right. Now it is time to learn how to be wise. Have you ever paused to ask yourself why you, among so many people, were the one who saw? Why your nervous system registered the danger before anyone else felt the tremor? Why your intuition screamed warnings while others slept peacefully in their certainty? This was not random. This was not a curse placed upon you by an indifferent universe. This was design. You were not placed in the middle of chaos to be destroyed by it. You were placed there to understand its blueprint. The pain you experienced, the rejection you endured, the isolation that became your constant companion, none of it was meaningless suffering. It was curriculum. It was training for something your conscious mind had not yet grasped, but your spirit already knew was coming. The architect mindset begins with this fundamental shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone to whom terrible things happened, and you start seeing yourself as someone who was being prepared through what happened. This is not about denying the pain or minimizing the betrayal. It is about refusing to let those experiences define the entirety of your story. You were placed in chaos, not to be its victim, but to become fluent in its language, so that one day you could build something better. Consider how differently the same events can be narrated depending on who holds the pen. In the victim narrative, you say they betrayed me, and the story ends with your wound. In the architect narrative, you say, I learned who deserves my trust, and the story continues with your wisdom. The victim says they isolated me and feels the sting of exclusion. The architect says I was protected from something I could not yet see and recognizes the hidden mercy in the separation. The victim says they refused to listen to me and carries the frustration of being dismissed. The architect says, I developed the capacity to stand alone in my truth and discovers a strength that would not exist otherwise. The victim says they caused me suffering and remains tethered to the source of pain. The architect says, I built resilience through fire and walks forward carrying tools instead of chains. This is not toxic positivity that pretends pain does not exist. This is strategic reframing that acknowledges the pain while refusing to let it have the final word. Both narratives contain truth. Yes, they did betray you, and yes, you did learn discernment through it. But only one narrative hands you power. Only one positions you as the author rather than the character to whom things happen. The question is not which story is factually accurate. The question is which story serves your becoming. Now look back at everything you have been through and see it with architect eyes. You did not realize it at the time, but you were building. Every painful experience was a brick. Every isolation was mortar. And what stands now is a structure of remarkable capability. You built a foundation of discernment, the ability to read energy, to sense what is unspoken, to perceive the shape of things before they fully form. This did not come from comfort. It came from being burned enough times that your senses sharpened into a survival instrument. You built walls of self-reliance, the knowledge that you can survive when no one supports you, when the crowd turns against you, when you stand alone against consensus. This is not a small thing. Most people have never tested their capacity to hold truth without external validation, but you have, and you know you can. You built windows of clarity, the ability to see patterns before they manifest, to read the trajectory of decisions before the consequences arrive. Think about your workplace. You saw the project would fail before the team lead noticed. They did not listen. Now the project is collapsing exactly as you predicted. You do not feel joy in this, but you have data. You have evidence that your perception is trustworthy. That evidence is material for your next blueprint. The final shift in this chapter is understanding the difference between a builder and an architect. A builder constructs according to someone else's blueprint. They follow instructions, execute plans designed by others, and measure success by how well they replicate what was handed to them. An architect creates the blueprint itself. They envision what does not yet exist, design structures that serve their own vision and take responsibility for the entire creation. Until now, you may have been building your life according to blueprints handed to you by family, culture, or circumstance. You built what they said success should look like. You constructed relationships based on templates that did not fit your actual shape. You followed career paths designed for people who do not see what you see. That season is ending. This is the moment you stop reacting to what happens to you and start designing what happens next. The question is no longer, why did this happen to me? The question is, what is this preparing me for? You have endured like a survivor. Now it is time to design like an architect. There is a dangerous misconception that silence equals defeat. The world has taught you that if you stop speaking, stop explaining, stop defending your position, you have somehow lost the battle. But this is a lie told by people who benefit from your endless expenditure of energy. The truth is far more strategic. Silence, when wielded with intention, is not the absence of power, it is the concentrated presence of it. When you choose silence, you are not retreating. You are withdrawing your energy from systems that have been draining you without giving anything in return. Think of energy as currency in the spiritual economy. Every time you explain yourself to someone who has already decided not to understand, you spend. Every time you defend your perception to someone committed to invalidating it, you spend. Every time you argue with someone who enjoys the conflict more than the resolution, you spend. And what do you receive in return? Exhaustion, frustration, the slow erosion of your peace. Silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of strategy. It is the deliberate decision to stop funding conversations and relationships that have proven themselves to be bad investments. Consider for a moment where your energy has been going. You have likely been running an unconscious audit for years, feeling drained without fully understanding why. Now it is time to make that audit conscious and deliberate. Think about the conversations you replay in your mind for hours after they end, the things you wish you had said, the points you wish you had made, the perfect responses that come to you at 2 in the morning. Each replay is a withdrawal from your energy account, and the other person is not even present to receive it. Think about the people you have been trying to convince, the ones you keep approaching with new evidence, new angles, new ways of explaining the same truth, hoping that this time they will finally see. They have not seen yet, and they are unlikely to see now, but you keep spending anyway. Think about the validation you have been chasing without fully admitting it to yourself, the approval from people whose opinions you claim not to value, but whose acceptance you still quietly crave. Think about the arguments you win in your imagination, the confrontations you rehearse in the shower, the justice you deliver in fantasies that never translate to reality. Every single one of these is an energy leak. You have been leaving pieces of yourself in rooms you no longer belong in, giving fragments of your power to people who have not earned them and situations that no longer serve you. It is time to collect those pieces and bring them home. The art of withdrawal is simpler than your mind wants to make it. Your mind will complicate it because your mind has been trained to believe that engagement equals importance, that response equals strength, that silence equals loss. But the practice itself requires only 3 steps. First, identify, look clearly at who and what is draining your energy. Name them without judgment, but with honesty. This person, that situation, this recurring argument, that endless explanation. Second, withdraw, and this does not mean dramatic exits, public declarations, or confrontational boundaries. It means quietly, steadily stopping the feed. You do not announce that you are done explaining yourself. You simply stop explaining. You do not declare that you are withdrawing from the argument. You simply stop arguing. You do not perform your boundaries. You simply hold them. Third, redirect. The energy you reclaim must go somewhere. And now it goes to you, into your peace, into your projects, into the people and pursuits that actually nourish rather than deplete. Imagine you have an energy bank account, and for years you have had automatic payments set up every time you think about them. Money withdraws. Every time you explain yourself to them, money withdraws. Every time you feel anger toward them, money withdraws. Silence is how you cancel those automatic payments. It is how you close accounts that have been draining you without your conscious consent. Here is the irony that will become apparent once you practice this. When you stop explaining, people start wondering. Your silence creates a vacuum, and in that vacuum, truth has space to echo. You do not need to say, "I told you so," because reality is saying it for you. Every consequence they experience that you warned them about, every prediction of yours that comes true, every pattern you identified that now plays out exactly as you described, these speak louder than any argument you could construct. Your silence becomes their mirror. When you were speaking, they could focus on your tone, your delivery, your attitude, anything to avoid looking at the content of what you were saying. But when you go quiet, there is nothing left to critique except the truth itself, and the truth is relentless. It does not need your defense, it only needs time. Reclaiming your energy is the first tactic because everything else depends on it. You cannot build boundaries if you are exhausted. You cannot practice mastery if you are depleted. You cannot position yourself for what is coming if you have given all your power away to what has already passed. The silence is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is the gathering of resources for the construction ahead. Before you can tell anyone else where your lines are drawn, you must first draw them within yourself. This is the part most people skip, and it is why most boundaries fail. They try to build fences around their lives without first establishing the territory those fences are meant to protect. They announce rules to others before they have committed to those rules themselves. And then they wonder why their boundaries crumble at the first sign of pressure, why they find themselves making exceptions for people who push back, why their no keeps dissolving into maybe and then into fine yes. The architecture of boundaries begins in the mind, in the quiet space where you define who you are and what you will accept. A boundary is not a wall you build against other people. A boundary is a definition you build within yourself. It does not say you cannot come here. It says, this is who I am, this is what I accept, this is what I do not. The external expression of boundaries, the words you speak, the actions you take, the access you grant or deny, all of these flow from the internal architecture. Without that foundation, every external boundary is just performance, and performance always eventually exhausts itself. Here is a truth that may be uncomfortable to confront. Before other people violated your boundaries, you were often violating them yourself. The external disrespect you experienced was frequently a mirror of the internal disrespect you had already accepted. When someone dismissed your feelings, they were following a template you had already established by telling yourself, "I am being too sensitive." When someone pushed past your discomfort, they were walking through a door you had already opened by telling yourself, "Maybe I am wrong about this." When someone took more than they gave, they were operating in an economy you had already created by telling yourself their needs are more important than mine. This is not about blame. This is about recognition. The first person who crossed your boundary was often yourself, and healing starts there. You gaslit yourself before they gaslit you, telling yourself you were imagining things when your intuition was screaming. You invalidated yourself before they invalidated you, dismissing your own perceptions as paranoia or overreaction. You sacrificed yourself before they demanded sacrifice, placing their comfort above your peace, as if this were some kind of virtue. These internal violations created the conditions for external violations. They taught others how to treat you by demonstrating how you treated yourself. The reconstruction begins with establishing internal rules, commitments you make to yourself that do not require anyone else's agreement or approval. These are not affirmations you repeat, hoping to feel better. These are operational principles that govern how you move through the world. The first rule is the rule of trust. When your body says no, you listen. Your nervous system has been collecting data. Your conscious mind has not fully processed, and when it signals danger or discomfort, that signal deserves respect, not dismissal. The second rule is the rule of validation. You do not need anyone else to agree with your feelings for those feelings to be valid. Your emotional experience is real, whether or not it is witnessed, understood, or approved by others. The third rule is the rule of worth. Your value does not fluctuate based on how others perceive you. It is not increased by their praise or decreased by their criticism. It is inherent, constant, and non-negotiable. The fourth rule is the rule of peace. You are permitted to leave any situation that costs you your peace. You do not need to justify this departure. You do not need to wait until the situation becomes unbearable. You are allowed to protect your peace proactively, not just reactively. The fifth rule is the rule of energy. You choose to invest your energy in what grows rather than what drains. This means some relationships will receive less of you. This means some battles will go unfought. This means some people will be disappointed by your new allocation of resources. These 5 rules form the architecture of self-respect. Without them, every external boundary will eventually collapse because there is nothing inside holding it up. Knowing these rules is not the same as living them. The gap between understanding and implementation is where most people lose their way. You can memorize these principles and still find yourself abandoning them the moment someone you care about applies pressure. This is why the final step is not awareness, but commitment, and commitment does not mean perfect execution. You will break your own rules. You will slip back into old patterns. You will find yourself once again explaining when you promised yourself you would stop accommodating, when you committed to holding firm, abandoning yourself in moments of fear or loneliness. This is not failure. This is human. The measure of commitment is not whether you ever deviate from your rules, but whether you return to them. Self-commitment is not about never breaking your promises to yourself. It is about always coming back when you do. It's about noticing the violation, acknowledging it without shame, understanding what triggered it, and then gently, firmly returning to the architecture you are building. Every return strengthens the structure. Every return teaches your nervous system that these rules are real, that they matter, that you will defend them even against yourself. The foundation inside you is now being laid. What comes next is learning how this internal architecture expresses itself in the words you speak. The words you speak are not neutral. They are either reinforcing the architecture you have built inside yourself, or they are dismantling it brick by brick. Most people do not realize that their language patterns reveal everything about their boundaries or their lack of them. Before you even state a boundary explicitly, your word, choices, your sentence, structures, your verbal habits have already communicated to others exactly how much they can push, how much they can take, how seriously they should take your limits. Language is not just expression. Language is construction. Every time you open your mouth, you are either building walls that protect or digging tunnels that undermine. There is no neutral ground in communication. You are always doing one or the other, and the people around you are always listening, always calibrating their behavior based on the signals your words send. This is why mastering the language of boundaries is not optional, it is essential. You cannot hold a boundary externally that your language contradicts internally. The words must match the architecture, or the architecture will fall. Listen to how you speak, and you will hear your boundaries or the absence of them echoing in every sentence. There are verbal patterns that signal weak boundaries so clearly that anyone paying attention can read them like a map to your vulnerabilities. When you begin sentences with, "I am sorry," but before stating a need or opinion, you are apologizing for your own existence, signaling that your perspective is an imposition rather than a contribution. When you say, "I know this is probably too much," but before making a request, you are pre-invalidating yourself, agreeing with the rejection before it even comes, making it easier for others to dismiss you because you have already dismissed yourself. When you phrase your needs as if you do not mind, or only if it is not too much trouble, you are asking permission to have needs at all, positioning your requirements as optional extras rather than legitimate expectations. When you hedge your truth with, "I just feel like maybe," instead of stating clearly what you observe, you are diluting your perception, making it easy for others to override your reality with their preferred version. These patterns are not politeness. They are surrender dressed in social acceptability. They are the linguistic equivalent of lying down and inviting others to walk over you while pretending you chose the position. The language of someone with boundaries sounds fundamentally different, and the difference is not volume or aggression, it is clarity. Instead of "I am sorry, but I do not agree," you say "I have a different perspective." No apology needed, no permission requested, just a clear statement of position. Instead of "I know this is probably too much," you say "This is important to me." The importance is stated as fact, not as something requiring external validation. Instead of "If you do not mind," you say "I need." The need is named, directly owned, fully presented without apology or excessive cushioning. Instead of "I just feel like maybe," you say "I notice," or "I observe," or "from my perspective." The perception is grounded, claimed, expressed with the quiet confidence of someone who trusts their own eyes. This is not about becoming harsh or aggressive. Clarity is not cruelty. In fact, clarity is the kindest form of honesty because it does not make others guess at your meaning or decode your hidden requirements. It tells them exactly where you stand, which allows them to make informed choices about how they engage with you. Clarity respects both parties. Hedging and apologizing and pre-invalidating may feel like kindness, but they are actually a form of manipulation. They try to control others' reactions by making yourself small, which is neither honest nor fair. The word no deserves its own attention because it is the boundary word, the single syllable that more than any other defines where you end and others begin. Most people have a deeply complicated relationship with this word. They have been taught that saying no is selfish, that it damages relationships, that good people find ways to say yes, even when every fiber of their being is screaming refusal. But no is a complete sentence. It requires no explanation, no justification, no attached apology, no promise to make it up to them later. You can deliver it with grace. Thank you for thinking of me, but I will not be participating. But the grace is optional. The no itself is sufficient. There are formulas that make this easier if you're still building your muscle. Or, that does not work for me, requires no elaboration about why it does not work. I am not available for that does not demand a schedule of what you are available for instead. I understand this matters to you, and my answer is still no acknowledges their desire without surrendering to it. Practice these. Say them out loud when you are alone. Let your mouth become familiar with the shape of refusal, so that when the moment comes, the words are already waiting. The final mastery in the language of boundaries is knowing when to speak and when silence serves better. Not every violation requires a verbal response. Not every boundary needs to be announced before it is held. Sometimes the most powerful communication is absence. The conversation. You do not continue the argument. You do not engage the explanation. You do not provide. Speak when a boundary needs to be established for the first time, when clarity serves a genuine purpose, when the relationship has a future worth protecting. Stay silent when they have already proven they will not listen, when the argument will only drain you without producing change, when reality itself will deliver the message more effectively than your words ever could. Before you speak, ask yourself one question: who does this serve? If it serves genuine understanding, speak. If it serves only your need to be right or your hope to finally be heard by someone who has proven themselves deaf to you, silence may be the stronger choice. Strategic silence and strategic speech are both expressions of the same power, the power of choosing how you spend yourself. Your words are currency. Spend them where they build something real. Not everyone deserves the same proximity to you. This seems obvious when stated directly, yet most people live as if it were not true. They grant the same access to casual acquaintances as they do to proven allies. They share their vulnerabilities with people who have demonstrated nothing except the ability to show up and ask questions. They open doors to their inner world based on how someone makes them feel in a moment, rather than what that person has demonstrated over time. This is not generosity. This is architectural failure. Your inner world is not a public space with open admission. It is a sanctuary with levels of access that you control, or at least that you should control. The problem is that most people have never consciously designed their access system. They inherited defaults from childhood, from culture, from the desperate desire to be liked, and those defaults almost always err on the side of too much openness too quickly. The third layer of boundaries is about correcting this. It is about understanding that access to you is valuable, that valuable things have costs, and that not everyone can afford or deserves what you have been giving away for free. Think of yourself as a building with different levels of security clearance. Level 1 is public access, the ground floor, the lobby, the space where anyone can enter without credentials. This is where small talk lives, where surface-level interaction happens, where you share information that you would be comfortable seeing on a billboard. Casual colleagues belong here, acquaintances you see occasionally, people you have just met. They get the public version of you, and that is appropriate. Level 2 is acquaintance access, a step deeper where you share opinions, stories that are not too personal, perspectives on things that matter to you but do not make you vulnerable. Friends who have not yet been tested by time or difficulty belong here. They have shown interest but not yet proven loyalty. Level 3 is trusted access. This is where real intimacy begins. Here you share struggles, fears, dreams, the parts of yourself that could be used against you if placed in the wrong hands. Only people who have demonstrated loyalty through actions, not just words, belong at this level. They have been tested. They have shown up when it was inconvenient. They have protected information you gave them. They have proven themselves through consistency over time. Level 4 is the inner circle, full access to your shadows, your wounds, your unprocessed thoughts, the version of you that exists before you have cleaned yourself up for presentation. Very few people should ever reach this level. It is earned through years, not months. Through repeated proof, not single gestures. Most people have too many people at levels 3 and 4 who should be at levels 1 and 2. Reclassification is not cruelty. It is correction. There are signals that tell you when someone needs to be moved to a lower level of access, and learning to read these signals is essential. When someone shares information you trusted them with to others without your permission, that is a downgrade signal. When someone consistently minimizes your feelings or experiences, treating your pain as exaggeration or your concerns as overreaction, that is a downgrade signal. When someone is absent during your difficulties but present when they need something from you, that is a downgrade signal. When someone repeatedly disrespects boundaries you have clearly communicated, that is a downgrade signal. None of these require dramatic confrontation. Downgrading is not punishment you announce, it is adjustment you implement. You simply begin sharing less. You become less available. You move them from the inner rooms to the outer ones without ceremony or explanation. They may notice the change. They may ask what happened. You are not obligated to provide a detailed accounting of their failures. You can simply say that you are being more intentional about your energy, or you can say nothing at all. The adjustment speaks for itself. Downgrading access is not revenge. It is recalibration based on evidence. You're not punishing them for who they are. You're protecting yourself based on what they have demonstrated. Access has a cost, and those who cannot pay should not be granted entry. The cost is not money, it is respect, consistency, reciprocity, and honesty maintained over time. When someone respects your time, your feelings, your boundaries, they are paying the cost. When someone shows up consistently, not just when it is convenient or when they need something, they are paying the cost. When someone gives as well as takes, ensuring the relationship nourishes both directions, they are paying the cost. When someone tells you the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, they are paying the cost. If someone is not paying these costs, they cannot afford access to you regardless of how long you have known them, regardless of what title they hold in your life, regardless of how much you wish things were different. Family members can fail to pay the cost. Childhood friends can fail to pay the cost. Romantic partners can fail to pay the cost. The relationship label does not override the access requirements. If they cannot afford the cost of your peace, they cannot afford access to your presence. This is not harsh. This is honest. And honesty, as you are learning, is the foundation upon which all real boundaries stand. You have now built the architecture from the inside out: internal rules, external language, and access systems. What comes next is learning to master the power that all of this protects. There is a difference between receiving recognition and requiring it, and that difference is the distance between power and dependency. When recognition arrives and you receive it with gratitude but without desperation, you remain sovereign. You appreciate the acknowledgement while knowing that your value existed before it came and will continue after it fades. But when you require recognition, when you cannot feel confident until someone else confirms your worth, when you cannot trust your perception until someone else validates it, when you cannot move forward until someone else approves your direction, you have handed your power to external forces that you cannot control. This is not a subtle distinction. It is the difference between standing on solid ground and standing on a platform that others can remove at any moment. Most people live in the second condition without realizing it. They believe they are confident, but their confidence is actually a borrowed thing dependent on continuous deposits from outside sources. The moment those deposits stop, the praise dries up. The approval withdraws. The audience looks away. Their confidence collapses because it was never truly theirs. It was rented, and the rent just came due. Internal validation is about owning your worth outright, holding the deed to your own value, so that no external fluctuation can evict you from your sense of self. Consider how this plays out in the practical world of work and money, where the consequences of external dependency become painfully concrete. The freelancer who needs client approval before trusting her own value will chronically underprice her services. She will accept projects that pay less than she deserves because she interprets low offers as assessments of her worth rather than negotiations she can decline. She will overwork herself, trying to earn praise that should have been unnecessary, exhausting herself in pursuit of external confirmation that she is good enough. Now consider the freelancer who knows her value, independent of any client's opinion. She quotes her actual rate without apology. She walks away from projects that do not meet her standards. She does not interpret rejection as judgment of her worth, but as simple incompatibility. They could not afford her, or they wanted something different, or they made a mistake they may later regret. The external outcome might sometimes be the same. Both freelancers might lose a particular client, but the internal experience is completely different. One loses the client and spirals into self-doubt. The other loses the client and moves on to the next opportunity with her self-concept intact. The work is similar. The money might even be similar in the short term. But the quality of life, the sustainability of the career, the long-term trajectory, these diverge radically based on where validation originates. Building an internal validation system requires more than positive self-talk or affirmations repeated in the mirror. It requires evidence, real accumulated proof that your perceptions are trustworthy, your instincts are reliable, your judgment has been tested and found sound. Start tracking your accuracy. When your intuition tells you something, note it. When that intuition proves correct, as it will again and again, record that too. Over time, you will build a database of evidence that your inner knowing deserves trust. This is not arrogance. This is empirical self-respect. You are not claiming to be always right. You are documenting that you are right often enough to warrant listening to yourself. Beyond tracking accuracy, measure yourself against your own values rather than external metrics. At the end of each week, ask yourself, did I act in alignment with what I believe? Did I honor my boundaries? Did I make choices I can respect? These questions create an internal scoreboard that you control, one that cannot be manipulated by others' opinions or gamed by external achievements that look impressive but feel hollow. When your validation comes from values alignment rather than external approval, you become immune to the particular torture of succeeding by others' standards while failing by your own. Detachment is the natural result of internal validation, and detachment is frequently misunderstood. It does not mean you stop caring about outcomes. It does not mean you become passive or indifferent or somehow above the human experience of wanting things to go well. Detachment means you care about outcomes without being enslaved by them. You want the promotion, but your identity does not collapse if it goes to someone else. You hope the relationship works, but your sense of self does not shatter if it ends. You pursue the goal with full effort while holding the result with open hands. This is freedom from the tyranny of needing specific outcomes, and it paradoxically tends to produce better outcomes. People trust those who are not desperate. Opportunities flow toward those who do not grasp. Negotiations favor those who can genuinely walk away. The energy of desperate need repels the very things it seeks, while the energy of grounded confidence attracts. In financial terms, the person who needs this particular deal will almost always get worse terms than the person who wants it but does not need it. The need shows, it always shows, and it always costs. The ultimate shift is from seeking validation to emanating confidence. These are opposite directions of energy flow. Seeking is outside in you. Look to the world to tell you who you are, and you absorb whatever verdict it delivers. Emanating is inside out. You know who you are, and you radiate that knowing into every room you enter. The seeker walks into a meeting hoping to be respected. The emanator walks in already respecting themselves, and others calibrate accordingly. The seeker enters relationships hoping to be loved enough to finally feel worthy. The emanator enters already whole, offering love from abundance rather than seeking it from scarcity. This is not about pretending confidence you do not feel. It is about building genuine confidence through the practices described, tracking your accuracy, aligning with your values, detaching from outcomes until the confidence becomes real, becomes yours, becomes something no external force can take, because no external force gave it. You stop looking for the light because you have become it. And from that position, you will be amazed at what begins to gravitate toward you. Mastery is not a destination you arrive at and then inhabit forever. It is not a certificate you earn a level, you unlock a state you achieve, and then maintain without effort. Mastery is a practice, something you do daily, repeatedly, imperfectly, and then do again. The moment you think you have arrived at mastery is often the moment you begin losing it, because mastery requires the humility of continuous practice, and arrival breeds complacency. This is why the question is never, when will I master this, but rather, how will I practice this today? Small, consistent actions compound into transformation that dramatic gestures cannot match. The person who practices boundaries for 10 minutes every day will outgrow the person who has one explosive confrontation and then returns to old patterns. The person who aligns with their values in small choices will develop stronger integrity than the person who waits for big moral tests. Mastery lives in the ordinary moments, the unremarkable decisions, the daily repetitions that no one applauds, but that slowly reshape who you are. Your morning sets the tone for everything that follows, which is why sovereignty should be practiced before the world has a chance to impose its demands. Even 5 minutes of intentional practice can reprogram how you respond to the day. Begin with grounding 1 minute of breathing, feeling your body arriving fully in the present moment before the chaos begins. Then set an intention, not a vague hope, but a specific commitment. Today, I will honor my boundaries by doing this one concrete thing. Follow with a simple affirmation that you actually believe, something like, "I do not need permission to trust what I perceive." Visualize yourself moving through the day with calm authority, handling difficulties from a centered place rather than a reactive one. Finally, release consciously, let go of the need to prove anything to anyone today. This practice takes 5 minutes, it costs nothing, and it positions you to meet whatever comes from a place of choice rather than reaction. Before an important meeting or difficult conversation, 2 minutes of this practice changes how you walk into the room. You enter not seeking approval, but presenting information. You speak not hoping to be heard, but knowing you have spoken clearly regardless of reception. The workplace is where these principles face their most frequent tests, and specific scenarios deserve specific strategies. When a colleague takes credit for your idea, the old response is either seething silence or angry confrontation, both of which cost you. The mastery response is different. Document your contributions, consistently address the situation privately with clarity rather than accusation, and detach from the immediate outcome while noting whether this environment respects your contributions over time. When your boss dismisses a concern that later proves valid, resist the urge to announce your vindication. Instead, record it for yourself as evidence in your self-trust database, offer solutions without gloating, and evaluate whether this pattern suggests you are in the wrong environment for your gifts. When an opportunity arrives that offers money or status but conflicts with your values, the old response is to accept out of fear. Fear of missing out, fear of financial insecurity, fear of seeming ungrateful. The mastery response is to evaluate against your internal rules and trust that declining misalignment creates space for better alignment to arrive. Your relationship with money reveals your relationship with yourself more clearly than almost any other mirror. Fear-based financial decisions look like overspending to impress people whose opinions should not matter, undercharging because you do not believe your work has value, or hoarding from scarcity even when abundance is present. Mastery-based financial decisions are aligned with values rather than fears, neither desperate nor avoidant, clear about worth without being rigid about form. Ask yourself about your most recent financial decision. Did it come from fear or from clarity? The answer will tell you where you stand. Master your inner world, and you will find that the outer world, including the world of money, begins to reorganize itself around your new foundation. This is not magic. This is alignment. And alignment practiced daily becomes the life you were designed to live. When what you warned about begins to unfold, some of the people who dismissed you will return. This is inevitable. They will come back with different faces than the ones they wore when they walked away, softer now, more open, perhaps even apologetic. But not all of them are returning for the reasons you might hope. Some are genuine seekers who have been humbled by reality and are now ready to listen in ways they could not before. These are the ones who arrive with humility, who acknowledge what happened without excessive justification, who demonstrate through actions that something has actually shifted in them. But others are convenience seekers who need your insight only for this particular crisis and will disappear the moment the storm passes, having extracted what they needed without any real change. Still, others are image managers who want to be associated with the person who saw it coming without genuinely respecting what that vision cost you. And some are simply energy vampires who sense that you now have something valuable and want to drain it the way they have always drained everything. Discernment does not end when vindication arrives. It deepens. The same perception that allowed you to see the original problem must now be applied to those who return, claiming they finally understand. You need a framework for responding that protects you while remaining open to genuine reconnection. 3 questions can guide your discernment. First, what energy does this person bring? Is it humility or entitlement? Are they approaching you as someone who has something to learn, or as someone who expects you to simply hand over your wisdom because they have finally decided to ask? Second, have they demonstrated willingness to change through actions or only through words? Words are easy. Apologies cost nothing. The question is whether their behavior has actually shifted or whether they are simply saying what they believe will grant them access. Third, is this relationship reciprocal or one-directional? Have they ever shown up for you, or has the flow always moved in one direction from you to them? These questions will sort the genuine from the opportunistic. For those who pass the filter, open the door cautiously and let trust rebuild through consistent action over time. For convenience seekers, be helpful, but limited. You do not owe them deep investment. For image managers and energy vampires, maintain polite distance and firm boundaries. Your forgiveness can be unlimited, offered freely to anyone who has wronged you. But your access does not have to follow the same principle. Forgiveness is about your peace. Access is about your protection. They are not the same thing. Understanding your role is essential to avoiding the exhaustion that comes from overfunctioning in others' lives. You are a guide, not a rescuer. A guide offers perspective, shares wisdom, points toward the path, and then lets the other person walk it themselves. A rescuer tries to carry people to do the work for them, to solve their problems, so they never have to develop their own strength. Guides maintain their own peace while being genuinely helpful. Rescuers sacrifice their peace on the altar of others' chaos and call it love. You are a lighthouse, not a lifeboat. Your job is to shine, to be visible, to offer orientation to those who are lost. Your job is not to swim out into the storm and drag everyone to shore. Some people will see your light and navigate toward safety. Others will see it and choose to keep sailing toward the rocks. That is their choice. Your responsibility is to shine, not to save. If they do not listen the second time, that is not your failure. You can offer the map. You cannot walk their path for them. Each person has their own timeline, their own capacity, their own readiness. Some will hear you now and transform. Others will need more pain before they are ready. Release the guilt that says you should have been more convincing. Your job was to speak truth. Their job is to receive it. Those are different jobs, and you are only responsible for yours. This season has a name, and the name is the revealing. It is not about revenge. It is not about personal vindication or the satisfaction of being proven right while others are proven wrong. It is about something larger than your individual story, a collective awakening in which you happen to be someone who walked ahead. You saw earlier, not because you are superior, but because you were positioned to see, equipped to perceive, designed to carry a knowing that others were not yet ready to hold. Your role now is not to stand over the rubble of collapsed illusions pointing at the destruction. Your role is to stand as witness to what happens when someone trusts their inner knowing, to demonstrate what becomes possible when perception is honored rather than suppressed. This season is revealing not just the truth about situations and people, it is revealing the truth about you, about what you are capable of, about the guidance you are meant to offer. Consider the legacy you are building in how you navigate this moment. 5 years from now, when you look back at this period, what do you want to see? Not the time I was vindicated, but the time I stepped into my power. Not the time they finally admitted I was right, but the time I learned to hold truth without needing applause. Legacy is not what others remember about you. Legacy is the truth you lived that continues to echo after the moment has passed. You are writing that legacy now in every response, every boundary, every choice between bitterness and wisdom. You walked alone because you walked early, but the path is becoming less empty. Others are waking up, catching up, beginning to see what you have seen for years. This message is one of the bridges connecting those who carry this particular kind of perception. You are not as alone as you have felt. There are others like you, scattered but seeking, isolated, but listening for signals that tell them they are not the only ones who see the world this way. If this message stirred something in you, recognition, confirmation, remembrance, that is not coincidence. Leave a signal if you feel moved to. A comment, a subscription, a share with someone you know is walking a similar path. Not for algorithms or numbers, but as a marker that says, I am here, I am awake, I am ready for what comes next. And chosen one, what comes next is already on its way.